testimony firsthand. So here it is.
Give him some room. What's up behind you?
Ms. Fisher, do you wish to make a statement?
It's almost been 1 year since I stood before this court and was sentenced to 5 to 15 years in state prison. At my sentencing, I told Judge Goodman 2 things were true. That I had an affair with a married man, and that married man was aware of my intentions towards his wife, and he encouraged me. Those things were true then, and are still true today, and will continue to be true. That man is the defendant, Joseph Buttafuoco. Since I first uttered those truths, Joseph Buttafuoco has publicly labeled me as crazy.
Could you speak up, please?
Crazy, psychopathic, depraved, and unworthy of belief. I was the subject of a made-for-TV movie inspired by Mr. Buttafuoco, in which he portrayed me as an obsessed teenager fantasizing a relationship with a married man who was faithful to his marriage and his family. His proclamations and denials continued until 6 weeks ago, when he stood before this court and admitted for all the world to hear that I was not some deranged teenager fantasizing a relationship. This relationship was real, and he was part of it. Under oath, he has finally told part of the truth. There is no doubt in my mind that he entered this plea of guilt because he is in fact guilty. I know that he took this plea because he is in fact guilty. Your Honor, when this relationship began, I was not just a 16-year-old teenager taken to bed by a man more than twice my age. I was a 16-year-old teenager shown a world I was not ready for, a world of elaborate spending and fast boats. This man took me to expensive restaurants and cheap motels. I am sad to say that he taught me well. He taught me to disrespect myself and to deceive my parents. Unfortunately, these were lessons I too quickly learned. I'm permitted to stand here because the law gives me that right. I am not exercising this right to be vindictive, but because I want to say to the world, I told you so. I'm exercising this right because I want to close the door to some of the horror of the past years, and because I want justice to be done to the limited extent available to this court. I am also here today to say that maybe one other teenage girl might be spared the pain, devastation, and loss of self-respect that such a relationship inevitably brings. I know with all my heart that if Mr. Buttafuoco had permitted me to cross the bridge between adolescence and adulthood unmolested, I would not be where I am today. I do not offer this as an excuse. There is no excuse. I simply offer it for the court's consideration. I'm asking that the court punish Mr. Buttafuoco as the court sees fit, as justice, considering everything that has transpired, would mandate. I'm not asking for me. I'm asking on behalf of the message it will send to other teenagers who might be tempted by the glitter of the legs of Joey Buttafuoco. I'm also asking, as if for a warning for all other people like Joey Buttafuoco who exploit the naivety of youth for their own purposes. I'm confident that the court understands and justice will be done. Thank you.
Well, up next, our special sentencing coverage continues as tempers flare in the courtroom.
Stay tuned to see what happens. Joey did not speak directly, but through his attorney, he lashed out.
Again, the audio quality is not the best, but we thought you'd still want to hear the sentencing, the final chapter in this celebrated case.
As I stood here and listened to Amy Fisher's comments, it seemed very obvious to me that her statements have the fine pen and pencil of Mr. Nyberg. It's Mr. Nyberg who puts the words in her mouth. It's Mr. Nyberg who tells her to come to this court and tell us that Mr. Buttafuoco had something to do with the shooting. And I guess I have to quote Judge Goodman in describing Amy Fisher, who calls her that wild animal that stalked Mrs. Buttafuoco. To this day, Your Honor, and I didn't hear it from Amy Fisher once, the regret for what she did on her own. But once again, the passing of guilt to someone else, which is the pattern of her life.
Perhaps Mr. Barbara didn't
I
hear
can
what she
speak.
said.
How dare you interrupt me? It's a sentencing.
You interrupted me, sir.
Wait a moment.
Judge.
Listen to me. I'm going to conduct this sentencing. I want you to conduct yourselves professionally. There'll be no more talk between you. I want you to please be seated while he speaks. Continue.
Yes, sir. Amy Fisher took a gun, and on the steps of the house where the Buttafuoco family lives, on the steps where the two children walk up every day, and the blood is still there, pointed a gun and shot his wife in the head. That's the same girl who had an abortion long before she met Mr. Buttafuoco. The same girl who was involved in prostitution long before she met Mr. Buttafuoco. And the same girl who wants us to believe today that she's an honest and truthful person. Notwithstanding the tape on Current Affair we all saw, where she said, "I can't wait till I get my Ferrari." Can we come up to jail, Mr. Makeley, and have sex? Now.
She's not on trial here. She's made a statement.
But
I'd like you to stick to the merits of this matter.
I will, sir, except to say that as the person who comes in here who claims she's the victim, we have to analyze what victim she is. Is she this sweet, innocent little person that big, bad Mr. Buttafuoco took advantage of?
That's not the issue.
Good.
It isn't.
Let's go further then, if we can, to Mr. Buttafuoco.
Yes.
Mr. Buttafuoco comes before this court, Your Honor, never arrested or convicted of a crime in his life. Not once. Except for an incident that happened after this arrest. There's never been a problem with him with the law. He is a man who, in the early 80s, was drug addicted and alcohol addicted, and as you read in that probation report, was able to beat those diseases, beat those illnesses, and he has stayed drug-free and alcohol-free for 5 years. In addition, Your Honor, Mr. Buttafuoco is a devoted and loving husband. He is a devoted and loving father. He is a devoted, loving son. His father being here in court, he's a devoted and loving son-in-law, the Connerys being here, who are behind him. He is a person who works hard and has built his business and worked with his family in that. All coming back from that adversity. And notwithstanding what has happened in this case, and think about it, we're here today for the world to watch. We walk through a sea of cameras and reporters, and everyone's here. Family, friends, even of some of the participants, judges and lawyers. We're all here to see what's happening to him. But you know, Judge, he stayed strong doing this. You didn't see him pick up alcohol. You didn't see him pick up drugs. He stayed a man who wants to stay in the direction of his life. In getting ready for this sentencing, Your Honor, I took it upon myself to investigate the last 3 years of statutory rape cases in this courthouse. My understanding is that there were 16 of them, Your Honor, and of the 16, 10 defendants, 10 received probation or less. Of the other 6 defendants, 3 of them received up to 3 months in jail. And the final 3 who received up to 6 months all had prior criminal records. And there has even been plea bargaining with prior felons who get statutory arrests, and they get plead down to a misdemeanor so they can do county time. He's never been in trouble before. And now we come to the last moment, the moment where justice is heard. You, one of our finest jurists, will now tell us what is fair and just. And I pray from my soul that Your Honor has the strength and wisdom to be fair to this man, not to punish him more because his wife got shot, not to punish him more because his children have to know this entire saga every day, but to just be fair and equal. Thank you.
You wish to say something?
No, sir.
Any felony of which you stand convicted upon your plea of guilty under count 4 of the indictment, and in satisfaction thereof, you're sentenced as follows. You're to pay a fine of $5,000. You're to serve 6 months in a county jail as conditions of and concurrent with a 5-year probationary term. You're to pay a surcharge of $150 and a $5 victim assistance fee. You've waived your right to appeal. That's all.
Afterwards, did she say anything about how she felt?
She said, can she go home now?
And where will she go now? Bedford Hills or Albion?
We're not sure. We hope it'll be back to Bedford Hills. She's doing well there. Justice is an ephemeral type thing. Is justice served? It's satisfying. Is it total justice? No. I think total justice is only the man above is going to be able to rule on that. But it's as best we're going to get by man's law.
She didn't ask for any particular sentence, so why did she come here today? What was her point in coming?
Carolyn, it represents closure. It's an end to a very trying period of time. It was being in the same room again. The devils are gone. The spirit is lifted. I told her, this is it. The door closes. You can forget about it now. And I think it worked. I think that's going to be her attitude. It's behind her now. She's going ahead. And I was very proud of her. She didn't yell. She didn't scream. She did a mature thing, and I respect it. And I think she's going to come out eventually a wiser, better, and very productive citizen, and that's what we're looking forward to now.
Any idea when
she's not going to sell herself to the media. She's not going to do what he is doing. She's not going to sign contracts for $500,000 and make a further circus out of a tragic situation. They yell and scream about his poor wife with a bullet, and she is a poor woman with a bullet, but she's on TV.